Hello.
Hi, welcome to Deacon and Dear. I'm Deacon Patrick Mongan, and this is my dear wife. We're here to talk to you about family.
Yes.
So, you might wonder who I am, and I think it's always good when somebody's talking and trying to educate you or help you to understand things to know who they are.
Who are you?
Good question.
I'm doing
I
it.
am
I'm
a
just like this.
family medicine doctor who taught at the Medical College of Georgia, and I retired from there. And I have also been ordained a deacon, and I was ordained in the Savannah Diocese in 2008. And my wife and I have had 8 children. We lost one at birth. So when we talk about the death of a child, we have actually experienced that.
When we talk about pro-life, we know what it's like because our child had 500 people at the funeral. It was a statement to our baby, full term, being honored for having lived a life and fulfilled his purpose. So,
Amen.
pro-life.
Yes. And we've also lost 3 of our parents. I've lost 2 of mine, and Ellen has lost her father. Mine were lost because of cancer, and Ellen's because of mistakes made by the healthcare profession. And one of the things when we talk about a big family, people like to say, "Are they all yours?"
And we always say, yes, they are.
Yes. Ellen and I are the only people who we've been married to each other.
That's right. And so I hope you listen to the introduction because that gives you a little bit of our humor. But some thoughts are more serious than others. Some subjects. Today we're going to talk about Deacon and Dear. I'm Dear and you're Deacon. Do be Deacon Dear. We're going to talk about falling in love because in marriage, Father said it 3 times this week, I think, or this month. But I also speak on this falling in love, living in love, and then loving through Christ. We're going to start today with one subject, which is falling in love. When did you fall in love, dear Deacon?
In 1973.
Okay, I don't know the dates. Well, we we've been together since I was like I think 19, and Pat was 25. There's a 7-year difference. But the compliment to Pat is always like, "Are you all the same age?" I would say, "No, we're not." And he always says, "Yes." That's a very big compliment. So we are. I was going to tell my side. One thing Pat and I do, you can tell yours first, is that when we meet couples and have them over to dinner, one of the first things we do share is that how'd y'all meet? And it's always so interesting to me because the husband goes first and they always have a different version than the wife. It's not always the same. It's a little the wife's a little more wordy and there's a little more details and the husband's like the succinct. So how did you fall in love, dear?
Well, my wife came down to Florida with my cousin because they both wanted to be stewardesses. And at that time, I was going to medical school, and we lived south of Miami. I lived with my parents to save money and commuted to school, which was downtown Miami, to Jackson Memorial and the University of Miami School of Medicine. And of course, my mother would invite my cousin and her roommate to come along to dinner like holidays and other times. And so I met Ellen, and to be honest, I thought, what a dingbat.
That's like a word that people use for TV.
Yeah.
Blonde and beautiful.
Yes, and so I wasn't interested in her, but then as she kept coming over, I began to see that beneath that kind of facade that there was actually a bright woman under there that she was hiding from people.
You read a kink about kink and I, right? When you realize the kink and I.
Yes, there's a book called The Kink and I where people become what other people think of them. In the book, she made the case that people thought she was kind of the dumb blonde, which in fact was not true, but she lived kind of that role and gave people that impression until she woke up and realized that no, she wasn't a dumb blonde. And so Ellen, I got interested, and I went to ask her out for a date. Now, in the meantime, I had visited her apartment with my cousin.
Yes, you did.
And saw how she treated other men,
Nice.
and there were lots of men who were chasing after her. And I said to her when I came to see her that you treat me like those other men, and I'm out of here, and you won't see me again.
Well, listen, actually what really happened was that there was a story, Jerry Maguire, and this is what I used the line from. He was visiting with my roommate, Peggy, who was a high school girlfriend, kind of acquaintance, and I wasn't really thinking that someone of his age would like be interested because he was like a really handsome, good-looking med student with a mysterious smile. And so I was going to be a nun actually. And I decided that I would first, before I became a nun, I would try college, which didn't work out at all for me. It was a lot of drugs, drinking, and sex. And I say that people think that I was drugs, drinking, and sex. So I was a Catholic schoolgirl, and I was like appalled by drugs, drinking, and sex. And I dropped out of college and became a stewardess. It was actually safer when the pilots couldn't drink. They couldn't do drugs on board, and I don't know what else they did on their time off, but I wasn't among the ones. So I'm going to say this, that Pat came knocking on the door one day, and he had been having dinners with Peggy occasionally as cousins, that they're fourth cousins, and I just thought he was there to see Peggy. So I said, Pat, Peggy's not here. And he said, I came to see you. And that was it. I fell in love, and the rest is go on our month-long honeymoon, begin our 8 children later, and 14 grandkids, and so much binds a couple together in love with each other. It's not, the falling in love is the easy part, just like we teach marriage engaged couples, the sexual part is the easy part. It's the other parts that are harder. It takes the journey to fall in love and stay in love, and then to love through Christ. So we fell in love May 1st, 1974. We got married. We went on a month-long honeymoon to the West, and I had never seen the West, and I was smitten, and he still has that mysterious smile. But if I were to say that there were never any ups and downs or deserts or valleys, I'd be lying to y'all. Everyone knows that a life is full of a tapestry of events, good, the bad, and the ugly. And we just want to say that we're going to be really honest on this show. There may be times we talk about pitfalls in marriage. That's a good one. And then other times we'll talk about the joy and the love of welcoming daughter-in-laws and welcoming grandbabies and welcoming our own children. So this is Deacon Pat and Dear. I'm going to call him Deacon Dear sometimes. That's what I call him. So go on.
Yes, and we are not experts by any means.
Well,
we have our faults, weaknesses, but we have tried to love each other through all the difficulties and medical problems, health problems, and continue to love each other till death do us part.
And I say the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right?
Amen.
No, he said that. It's okay. No, in marriage, though, as we say, the falling in love part. The falling in love part, I had Pat kind of on a pedestal. And I was a fallen away Catholic. I was going to be a nun, but once I became a stewardess, I kind of fell away. I had fallen away before in high school a little bit, but not even knowing it. I just was like an undercover Catholic Christian gal. I didn't want people to know I was a Christian because I want to be popular. And we know that did mix in the 70s. So I came back to my faith in 1976. We had our second child, Terrell Natasha Tiffany. And we nicknamed her Dynamite, TNT, because second children, age 21 or 22, it was a lot on my plate. But I do say this. I was a suburban wife. I had one boy and one girl. I had a husband that was a physician at that time, family practice in Gainesville, Florida, and I thought I had made it in the world. I had made it. Man, I'm making it. And I came back to the church, and I gave my heart to Jesus, and I said, no matter who meets me, I'm never going to hide my faith again. And that's why I speak out. And that's what Pat became a Christian. We'll tell that story another time. When he became a Christian himself, when he gave back his heart to Jesus. In the Catholic faith. I just want to clarify that. Some people say, when you can't give your heart to Jesus in the Catholic faith, that's what it's all about, isn't it, Deacon? Giving your heart to Jesus. What does the Pope say?
Well, yeah, and I think, though, we ought to talk a little bit about it now because it's important in terms of our journey, is that Ellen was praying that I would come to find the Lord, and I was raised in the Lutheran Church, became an agnostic. Yeah, religion is a crutch for people. I don't really need it. But I was always searching and looking. And of all places, we went to Utah and met some really strong Christians. A pastor, Assembly of God pastor, Stan, and then we also met another couple who were solid Christians from Texas.
Yes,
And we would go to Bible studies because Ellen asked if we'd go. And I said, sure, if you need that, I'll go along with you. And as I searched, I really came to a point in my life after looking at all the different religions and faiths to where either Jesus was real or I might as well be a hedonist. And for some of you who may not know what that means, a hedonist is somebody who's just looking out for their pleasure, and that life is all about pleasures. And I said at the time, Jesus, I believe you're real. And it's one of those experiences that it's hard to put in words. But people usually who know that, yes, even Catholics believe in a personal relationship with Jesus.
That's right.
And our popes have said we need to have a personal relationship with Jesus. I don't define that, but those who have one know it. And I knew it. I knew Jesus was real and that there were ideas that popped into my head at that time that they weren't voices, but I knew there were certain things that we needed to do.
That's an assurance. I actually found the Lord when I was 7 years old in the Eucharist. Now, I, being so naive at the time, wasn't that blonde, but I did think that everyone knew Jesus. Because when I went up to receive Jesus in the Eucharist, we used to wear the white gown. I'm all for it. The veil. And we were Jesus's bride. I longed in my pew, saying, Jesus, Jesus, come to me. In those days, we were singing that song. Jesus, Jesus, come to me. All my longing is for thee. And I went forward, and I knew, like he knew, I knew he was real in the Eucharist. See, so many don't know that. I admire that Deacon Pat every time he gives the homily or an invitation. He says, as you go forward to receive Jesus in the Eucharist. Duh, of course. That's our faith, Eucharistic centered. But so few understand. So I went forward and did receive my Eucharist. And I longed for the Eucharist. And then when I fell away, I was so Catholic, so not aware that I'd fallen away. I was a flight attendant, so I couldn't go to Mass on Sundays. Sometimes I had flights. So I would go during the week. And then I didn't even know. Sometimes you could fall away like the frog in the pan. Do you want to tell the frog in the pan?
Oh, this is a common idea amongst Christians, is that people often don't turn bad suddenly. Don't turn away from Jesus suddenly. But as the culture turns away from God, it's like a frog in a pan that if you slowly heat it up, the frog will cook. He won't jump out of the pan. If the pan is really hot and you throw the frog in there, well, he's going to try to jump out. And that's what's happening to us in our culture. As our culture denies the existence of God, turns further and further away from the moral principles that have been an integral part of this nation and this culture. We are like that frog who are slowly being cooked spiritually by the enemy. And our enemies are the world, the flesh, and the devil.
That's right. And I don't know if he mentioned this part or emphasized, and I want to emphasize this. When they say you're either all in or you're not in at all. It's a very common saying. I was all in. I was a new coming back to Jesus through the charismatic renewal. Now I'm not charismatic at all. I love the charismatic renewal, but I'm more of a contemplative, more centered on the Catholic faith and the of Eucharist and Mass and adoration. But I asked the Lord that if Pat would find Jesus, did I share this already? That he would give. I would give up my diamond ring. As you see, I don't have a diamond ring. I have a pearl, and I was so convinced that Pat would find Jesus, that when he began to search for where he'd begin to practice, he went in Vernal, Utah. I prayed that God would send him where he'd find Jesus, and I was so like, he's gonna find Jesus. And so I gave my diamond ring at the time to a Christian broadcaster who was looking for money. And I just waited on God. I waited and waited. And we get to Vernal, Utah, and I was sure that he'd find the Lord. And I just began to pray some more, fervently. And then one day I began to go like, wait a minute. I think the Spirit didn't work. I'm like, what happened? Because Pat was in Vernal, Utah. I did not know. Utah is not really the most predominantly Christian Catholic state. So there I was. And I didn't have hope. I actually got connected with two different sisters in the Lord. One was through an aglow ministry where a pastor's wife Karen Arias befriended me, and she was the Assembly of God church, and I went to her church I'm very ecumenical. I love my faith, but I will join in and praise the Lord anywhere. And then I met the Tillies, who is Parks and Brenda Tilley, and they were all instrumental in planting seeds in Pat. And I remember when Brenda said, when Pat found the Lord, she said, "How do you know? How do you know he found the Lord?" I said, "Brenda, I think he found the Lord. He's different. How do you do it?" I said, "I just know it." And he did. He found the Lord through his intellect by reading, and he read so many church fathers. I highly recommend it, because I was one of those ones that go like, no, it has to go from the head to the heart. Yes, it does, but it takes a journey. Everyone goes the journey differently. So Pat took the journey of reading, and he still does. He knows, if you want to know something about the encyclicals or about anything with the different readings, Pat knows, because he read the church fathers and everything the Pope puts out. Pat reads it.
And so, yeah, but the interesting thing was that the last church that I was going to join, in spite of the fact that Ellen was Catholic, was the Catholic Church, because of the things I had heard and the prejudices of others. So we moved to family, and near family, and which is clear that that's what God wanted us to do.
Tell that big story, honey.
And move back. And what happened is I was looking for a position, and I went to interview at the Medical College of Georgia. And to make a long story short, I interviewed, and there was a meeting with a rural clinic who wanted to have a contract with the Medical College of Georgia, and all this happened within a week. I interviewed on a Monday and Tuesday. I had a job, a faculty position, on Friday. That's unheard of in the academic world. And there was no doubt in my mind that God was leading us here.
And you were going first to, she had interviews making in Macon, Georgia. But my dad being he decided to go in, and what did he do? He
went into the
the
dean's office at the medical college and said, "Do you have faculty jobs for family doctors?" And the dean sent him over to the Department of Family Medicine, and they said, "Well, we might." And that's what helped get that all started, because I really hadn't thought of going to the Medical College of Georgia. And after being accepted there, I started looking around, and went into different churches, visited different churches. And one day I went into a downtown Catholic church, Church of the Most Holy Trinity, and I experienced this sense of awe that I had not experienced anywhere else. And I was hooked and started on my journey to become a Catholic. And I've never regretted it, never really looked back, in spite of all the troubles, because if you know church history, you know that the church is full of sinners, and there are going to be difficulties and problems and trials and tribulations. So I think we'll end on that note with the reason we're coming to speak to you, because we want to start out and talk about family, because family is under attack. And that's where children are formed. That's where the faith is passed on. And our culture is fast departing from that idea where family is the little church. Family is who forms the kids, not culture, not schools, not society. And we need to get back to that. And any way we can help that occur, that's one of the things we want to do. Yep. So God bless.
Well, we thank you for joining us. You can catch us on YouTube. That's Deacon and Dear, Ellen and Pat Mongan. And we're Catholics out there sharing something we can do. And so we're going to always end on this song, I tell them, because at least it's something funny. We hope you enjoyed it. As you see, living in love, falling in love, it's a journey. Fall in love with Jesus is also a journey. So we'll tell you about our journey, and about family, and about marriage, and about parenting, and about theology as well. And throw in the encyclicals and find the Lord through your intellect. So here we go. We're traveling along, singing a song, side by side. As you tell, we don't have good voices, but we sing out loud.